let's talk about Raxia, the primary setting of Sword World 2.0 and 2.5. Raxia was uniquely conceived by its designers as a flagship setting, a world designed to let you weave your own stories using the Sword World system. So in this video, we will focus on what makes Raxia unique as a setting. If you're more interested in the lore of Raxia, check out our many lore summaries on this channel, or dive into the books, which go into far more depth. Here we'll examine Raxia's creation and its core features from a game design perspective, rather than the viewpoint of a storyteller, historian, or adventurer. We'll explore it the way a GM would, because not everyone wants to play in Raxia, or any established setting for that matter. Some people dislike the idea of a setting being pushed onto them. We see that sentiment in online discussions all the time. While some people are perfectly fine with Raxia, or even love it, there's also distrust or misunderstanding about why Raxia exists the way that it is, and how it can help you run the game. In lore, Raxia, as we've said many times, is a world created by the Three Swords. It went through several eras that added to and reshaped the world in their own way. In broad strokes, the first divine era introduced gods and the basic races, humans, dwarves, elves, etc. The War of Gods added the barbarous and the evil gods. The second Magic Civilization era brought the whole magic layer, demons, wizard kings, golems, and so much more. The third Magitech era added Magitech on top of that, magic and technology combined, with artificers, guns, runefolk, magical robots, and so on. Finally, the current age sits on top of all those eras, allowing you to peel back layers and add elements from them however you like. For example, you could focus your campaign squarely on the Magic Civilization era, say when this ruin was a major hub of that age. Or you can reframe something as ruins from the War of Gods, maybe with an angel chained inside. Or you can combine multiple eras into one, a ruin so deep that the farther you descend, the older the history you uncover. That's the kind of flexibility Raxia is built around. Raxia also sets several conflicts in motion which are easy for GMs to exploit in their own stories. The main conflict is the struggle between humanoids and the barbarous. It's somewhat similar to law versus chaos, not exactly, but close enough. Power at any cost, where the strong rule the weak, versus civilization built around communities, even if it still relies on kings and hierarchies. Neither side perfectly embodies its ideal, and both can be twisted. You can create corrupt humanoid societies with evil kings or tyrants. The Magical Civilization era's wizard kings are clear examples of that. And the barbarous aren't uniformly evil either. We made a whole video about that. At its most basic level, this dichotomy serves a practical purpose. It gives humanoid adventurers a clear context in which they can fight goblins and other barbarous as the villains of their story. At the same time, you can easily turn things around and tell the story of a kobold revolt against the evil humanoid king who enslaved them. There are other major conflicts too. In 2.5, we get the demonic threat tied to the Abyss, a massive rift in the north of the Alframe continent that threatens to destroy all life. It's a purely evil force. Demons have no redeeming qualities. It's destructive by design. While the barbarous might try to exploit it for advantage, they still ultimately want to survive it and possibly even conquer it. Because of that, you can add demons as a looming threat in your stories with ease. They're ever present on Alframe. On the Terrastir continent, that threat was milder. Demon summoners could cause problems, but without shallow abysses and without the abyss itself, the danger tended to stay more local. There are also conflicts between kingdoms. They're ever present, but they're not always constant, or their borders clearly defined. And disputes sometimes escalate into outright wars between countries. The setting is meant to be about adventuring to accomplish something, fighting monsters, not fighting soldiers on a battlefield. You can run that kind of game, especially if you use Age of Grimoire and the other Magic Civilization era supplements to play in older eras where it was more common. But in Raxia's current era, that sort of open warfare is much rarer. Now let's look at what tools GMs gain by using Raxia as their game setting. It's not just that you can mix and match eras, swap enemies, and introduce new threats. The broader point is that Raxia is fluid. Yes, there are world guides for different parts of the two main continents, and city guides as well, but even within those, there are plenty of blank spaces. Mysteries that aren't fully explained, strange illnesses afflicting rulers, a looming barbarous threat vague in its location and goals. Ancient Magitech devices are being unearthed and reused, but their true purpose is unknown. Maybe it's a world-saving device. Maybe it's a world-destroying cannon. The setting gives you detailed artifacts, then lets them be lost again, so GMs can place them wherever they want. It mirrors the modular nature of the game itself. Start with the core rulebooks and then layer on supplements, adding new classes, monsters, locations, and so on. Lore works the same way. Pick and choose what you like. You can take a research everything approach and try to uncover lost lore about a specific place, but most of the time that'll boil down to just a couple of books that contain any relevant information. Some regions have almost nothing, a paragraph at most. From there, it's in your hands to build them out. The maps themselves are full of empty spaces where lost kingdoms could exist, barbarous strongholds could fester, demon-summoning cults could hide, fairylands could bloom, or ruins of wizard kings could lie buried. The possibilities are endless. That's the main difference between Raxia and the tightly defined worlds of other games, with detailed maps where every village is specified and each major city comes with pages of detail. In Raxia, you get vast open spaces full of possibility, and the opportunity to create something unique. Every time you look at the map, you can feel that openness. Now, some might call that a cheap trick. They just left empty spaces, right? But it isn't that simple. Those empty spaces still contain kingdoms, powers, and dangers established in the books. There are layers upon layers of elements without fixed locations. Monsters and items rumored to be somewhere, described only in outline, waiting to be placed. There are lost or forgotten races only vaguely described in terms of where they might be found. The setting constantly offers hooks that you can latch onto. And that's not all. There's an entire continent, Keldian, near Alframe, explicitly described as a blank canvas for GMs. You can make it completely your own. There's no real information, only that contact was lost, and no one remembers what was there. It's just there, waiting. Then there's Razeldon, a continent rumored to be filled with barbarous. What else happens there? Why are there no visible humanoid kingdoms? Were they wiped out? Why do shadows come from there? Are there Soleil tribes? We know that Razeldon once held the City of the Gods, the first city of humanoids, built by Lyphos and other gods of the First Sword, only to be destroyed at the very start of the War of the Gods. Where are its ruins? How big are they? What if they cover a third of the continent? The books don't give hard answers, only rumors. And rumors can be powerful. They give you just enough to spark the imagination. What other meaningful story threads might you find? That's for the GM to decide. If you understand the patterns of this world, you can feel the presence of stories waiting to be told, and make them your own. Of course, you can also use bubble worlds, other dimensional spaces created during the War of the Gods. There have been 3 bubble world supplements released so far. Bubble worlds can be as wild as you want. They connect to Raxia, but in such different ways that the laws of the world change. Maybe the world is literally black and white, and color is a divine contamination. Maybe it's inspired by Japanese history and myths, built on a giant dragon's corpse, with Oni trying to corrupt the world's soul. Or maybe it's a silly bureaucratic nightmare, a demon lord's castle surrounded by a humanoid kingdom, trying to conquer it, only to be thwarted by red tape. Do they all need to be consistent with each other? No. You can do whatever you want with bubble worlds, but they also demand extra work. More broadly, Sword World wasn't designed to be played on a completely different plane of existence. You can't just drop it into an existing world like Middle-earth or Greyhawk without rewriting the game's core concepts. Sword World's soul scars, barbarous linked monsters, and demons are all very distinctive. Some classes are tied to Magitech or practices you won't find elsewhere. You probably wouldn't find Sword World's card-slinging flavor of alchemist as is in 99% of fantasy worlds, just as most settings wouldn't have a geomancer-like class, or a druid who speaks with spirits in quite the same way. If you're building your own world and trying to fit Raxia into it, or even trying to backport the 2.5 system to Forcellia, the world of the first Sword World TRPG, you'll run into problems. You'll have to cut out important features and limit yourself to a smaller chunk of monsters, races, and classes. It becomes a lot of work. Even Sword World's own bubble worlds require adjustment. They usually try to simplify the connection. You'll usually keep the same gods, and characters from Raxia can appear in them, but it's still a trade-off. In that sense, Raxia itself, its lore and structure, is a design tool, meant to connect the rules to the setting and make it easy to play within it. So how can you use it? You can run ready-to-play campaigns and scenarios and be done with it. You can use world guides and set new adventures there. Or you can write your own kingdoms, villages, stories with whatever conflicts you want. Invent your own continents where dragons rule, write a unique pirate archipelago, and have fun coloring outside the lines. Create bubble worlds full of unimaginable mystery, a world where magitech flourishes, a world ruled by fairies, a world entirely underwater, anything you want. And of course, you can take a completely new world, or even an existing one, and try to squeeze Sword World into it. It will be a lot of work, and you won't get much help, but it's your time we're talking about. So if you're deciding to pick up Sword World 2.5, I hope this video helped you see the design patterns woven into the tapestry of Raxia, and how they can help you get the best experience for the time you want to invest, while still enjoying the awesome experience of Sword World. Thank you for listening. See you in the next video.